Welcome back to Tales of Gold, where we dive deep into the wonders of ancient history. Today, we're journeying into the heart of ancient Egypt to explore the fascinating and sacred art of mummification. How did the pharaohs prepare their bodies for the afterlife? What rituals ensured that their souls would live on for eternity? Stay tuned as we unlock the secrets of mummification and discover the incredible process that has captured imaginations for thousands of years. Mummification wasn't merely a physical process. It was a spiritual journey, a sacred rite that connected the pharaohs with the divine. In ancient Egyptian beliefs, death was not seen as the end, but as a transition to another world where life continued eternally. The ritual of mummification began with the purification of the body, a symbolic act that represented the cleansing of the soul from any earthly impurities and preparing it for the next life. Imagine the scene: priests dressed in immaculate white linen, chanting ancient hymns, carefully washing the body in the sacred waters of the Nile. The river, seen as a divine artery that provided life and sustenance to the land, was also believed to carry the spiritual energy necessary for purification. As the priests meticulously washed and anointed the body, they invoked blessings from the gods to protect the pharaoh's spirit. The ritual wasn't just about cleansing, it was a sacred ceremony of renewal and transformation, aligning the deceased with the divine order of the universe. Offerings were made, incense was burned, and prayers were recited, all to ensure that the pharaoh's journey into the afterlife would be smooth and pleased. This phase of purification went beyond physical cleaning. The Egyptians believed that by purifying the body in this sacred manner, the pharaoh's soul was being prepared to traverse the treacherous path to the afterlife, a path filled with challenges and divine judgment. Priests, often revered as intermediaries between the divine and the mortal, would lead this process with extreme care and reverence. It was crucial for the soul to be in harmony with Mahat, the concept of truth, balance, and cosmic order, to achieve immortality. After purification, the ritual moved to its most delicate phase, the removal of internal organs, each considered essential for the afterlife. The ancient Egyptians believed that while the body must remain intact, the internal organs had specific spiritual functions that required separate preservation. The stomach, liver, lungs, and intestines were removed through a small incision on the left side of the body. These organs were then treated with oils and resins and placed in canopic jars, each carefully guarded by one of the four sons of Horus, who were thought to protect the deceased from harm in the afterlife. The jars, made of alabaster or pottery, were often beautifully decorated and marked with inscriptions calling upon the gods for protection. However, the heart, viewed as the seat of intelligence, emotion, and character, was left inside the body. This organ was central to Egyptian mythology, as it was believed to be weighed in the hold of Mahat against the feather of truth. If the heart was heavy with sin, it would be devoured by Ammon, the devourer of souls, condemning the soul to eternal damnation. Thus, the preservation of the heart was not just a physical necessity, but a profound spiritual requirement, underscoring the importance of moral integrity and righteousness during one's lifetime. The process of removing the organs was performed with utmost precision and care. Priests known as embalmers were especially trained in this art, using tools like obsidian, blades, which were believed to hold magical properties to make incisions. They performed these tasks while reciting spells and invocations to ensure the body was not desecrated and that the pharaoh would be properly equipped for the afterlife. The removal of the brain, considered less important, was done through the nasal cavity using a long hook, a task that required both skill and reverence. The next step was the drying of the body, a critical process that would prevent decay and ensure the body remained preserved for eternity. To achieve this, the ancient Egyptians used a substance called natron, a natural salt found in the deserts of Egypt, particularly in the Wadi Natron. Natron was a magical element to the Egyptians, as it not only had dehydrating properties, but was also believed to be a divine substance gifted by the gods. The body was completely covered in natron, packed in and out, and left for over 40 days. During this time, the natron absorbed all the moisture from the body, leaving it perfectly dry and preserved. This step was seen as a miracle of both nature and divine will, a process that fused the elements of earth and spirituality to maintain the sanctity of the pharaoh's body. Priests would watch over the body during this time, continuing their prayers and offerings, ensuring no evil spirits interfered with the sacred process. The use of natron wasn't purely practical, it was imbued with a spiritual meaning. To the Egyptians, the drawing out of the body symbolized the separation of the physical from spiritual, preparing the soul to undertake its journey. The sight of a perfectly preserved body after this process was considered a divine sign, an affirmation that the gods favored the pharaoh, allowing him to enter the afterlife unblemished. With the body now preserved, the mummification process moved into one of its most iconic stages, the wrapping of the body in linen. This phase was not just a matter of covering the body, but a deeply ritualistic process, symbolizing protection, transformation, and eternal life. The embalmers, skilled in this sacred art, would use hundreds of yards of linen, wrapping the body layer by layer, carefully positioning each fold to maintain the shape and the integrity of the pharaoh. The linen strips were often soaked in resins and oils that added further protective layers against decay. Between the layers, they placed amulets, each with its own magical properties and inscriptions. Amulets like the Eye of Horus, the Scarab, and the Ankh were believed to provide protection, guidance, and the power in the afterlife. Some amulets were even designed to repel evil spirits or grant specific blessings, like courage or strength to the deceased. The priests would recite spells from the Book of the Dead and other sacred texts to empower these amulets, ensuring that the pharaoh had all the necessary tools to navigate the trials of the underworld. The wrapping process itself could take weeks, as each layer needed to be meticulously placed and each amulet correctly positioned. In addition to protection, the wrapping also served a practical purpose. It held the body together and preserved its form, making it recognizable to the soul in the afterlife. The final layer would often be decorated with symbolic drawings, prayers, or images of gods to further invoke divine protection. The final step in the mummification process was the sealing of the mummy inside a sarcophagus. This wasn't an ordinary coffin. It was a masterpiece of art and spirituality, made of stone, wood, or gold. The sarcophagus was intricately decorated with hieroglyphs, images of gods, and scenes from the Book of the Dead. These inscriptions were not mere decorations. They were spells and prayers that served as a guidebook for the deceased, offering instructions on how to overcome the various obstacles in the afterlife. The face of the sarcophagus was often painted to resemble the deceased, ensuring the soul could recognize its vessel. Once the mummy was placed inside, the sarcophagus was sealed, often within multiple nested coffins for added protection. It was then laid to rest in a tomb filled with treasures, food, clothing, and offerings. Everything the pharaoh would need to thrive in the afterlife. The walls of the tomb were covered with elaborate murals depicting the journey through the Duat, or the Egyptian underworld, where the soul would encounter gods, monsters, and the final judgment by Osiris. The sealing of the tomb was a highly emotional and spiritual moment. Priestess would perform final rites, and family members would offer their last prayers and goodbyes. The tomb would then close, often with large stones or a sealed door, to prevent the tomb robbers and ensure that the pharaoh could rest undisturbed. The journey into the afterlife had begun, with the pharaoh's fate now firmly in the hands of the gods, who would decide his eternal destiny. And so, the pharaoh's body was ready for the afterlife, but the journey of the soul had just begun. Through the art of mummification, the ancient Egyptians believed they could transcend death, ensuring their rulers' immortality. This complex and secret process continues to inspire, offering us a glimpse into the minds and hearts of one of history's most remarkable civilizations. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the past. Don't forget to subscribe to Tales of Gold for more captivating stories from ancient history, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode.